And then
Yep.
this thing comes along and I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, are you serious? You
Yeah.
start getting boobs and you really don't want to be dealing with that. And so we will have a session like this that will be geared to moms and daughters. And we'll have young ones on and we'll talk about some of those things. From there, um, Charlotte says she was going to say 11.
Yeah. I mean, that's when I got mine. So that
All
was
right.
actually young at the time. I'm 58 now. I had to think about it for a second. And so I was 11.
Yeah, I mean, I was 10. How old were you, Nikki?
I was the young age of 12.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can see
Hmm.
generationally how the ages have been changing.
Yeah. And so what is the impact for that?
Hmm.
And estrogen dominance, we hear that expression used. Nobody really knows quite what that means, except that we're overloaded with estrogens in our cosmetics that we wear. Even for example, if you buy a new mattress and then that new mattress is going to off gas these neurotoxic endocrine disrupting substances that's going to just drive your estrogen through the roof. And unless you do something to speed up that process, that could be happening for years. So yeah, a lot of that. So then we get to the point where we may have a child, and then we're dealing with the effects of that. And then we get into middle age and we start to deal with perimenopause and those types of symptoms. So all along the way, there are things that can impact us. And what does that look like when your hormones are out of balance? Well, it tends to look like mental health issues,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because we're not necessarily aware of how intricately our hormones are tied with our emotions, except if people suffer from PMS, right? So if you have PMS, what type of symptoms do we see in young girls and in women when they're suffering from that? We think, oh, I always know actually
Or PMSing,
they're,
right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
always look back afterwards, after I've been like having a couple days with my daughter, where I'm just like, oh my goodness, is she for real? Like and you're getting into these, you know, interactions with each other that are less than ideal. And then she starts her period, and I'm like, of course,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Um, but for some women, that can actually roll over into severe anxiety, depression, OCD, insomnia, suicidal thoughts. Some people get very painful periods, very heavy periods, and they're like, what the heck is going on? Or they may hesitate to talk about it. Um, or you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to talk about it, and then it kind of subsides, and then you think, oh, I'll procrastinate. I'll get to that next time. And then the next month comes, and you're there all over again, and you're like, man. So, yeah, what experiences have you guys had or with hormones in your life? Have you guys experienced something that's affected you on a personal level, if you feel like sharing?
I know I was saying I would share this story about our daughter because that did affect our life, speaking of hormones. And she's 26, she's 27 now, but this was when she was 26. And she had been using an IUD for birth control
Mhm.
for many years, over 5 years, I think.